Digital camera sensors consist of an array of photosites. These are light-sensitive elements. They convert the light that falls onto the sensor to digital intensity values. The sensor's ability to capture color is given by a Bayer pattern. This is an arrangement of red, green, and blue filters placed on each photosite in that particular pattern. However, the images we're used to, the standard RGB images, require all three primary color values, so R, G, and B, at each pixel location. So there has to be a process that converts the Bayer pattern into a visible RGB image. The most important bit of it is the demosaic algorithm. In non-RAW images, this is the usual process. The Bayer image is processed and turned into a normal imaging camera, which packages the digital signal into various video formats like MOV, MPEG-4, etc. This packaging compresses the image, and as such, quality is decreased. RAW files are of two types, compressed and uncompressed. This is to say, most of the RAW formats have a certain amount of processing applied to them. They do not simply contain the raw data from the sensor. Besides the demosaic process, other raw processing options include stuff like noise reduction, anti-aliasing, and low-pass filter for moire suppression. What goes in here depends on the sensor and camera manufacturer. Since CDNG is uncompressed, we should be seeing the largest amount of noise. I couldn't find any information as to whether BRAW or ProResRAW formats have baked-in noise reduction, but based on what I saw in the footage that I shot, I think both ProResRAW and BRAW have some. ProResRAW directly encodes the Bayer pattern. The demosaic and further processing is done in your computer when you import it in the editing software. That being said, Final Cut Pro does a very good job at processing ProResRAW seamlessly. I haven't tried ProResRAW processing in any other editing software, but I do recommend Final Cut. It works just as well as the optimized media that it creates. As a codec, the ProResRAW uses the same principles and underlying technology as the old ProRes codecs, but applies them to a camera sensor's pristine raw image data, not the conventional image pixels. It is a compressed RAW. ProResRAW data rates are proportional to frame rates and resolution, but vary according to image content, significantly more than old ProResRAW formats do. Although normal, not RAW, ProRes is a variable bitrate video codec, an Apple white paper on this matter says that the variability is usually small and the actual data rate is close to the target data rate. So essentially, since the ProResRAW is designed to maintain constant quality and very high image fidelity for all of its frames, it will have higher data rates for images with greater detail or noise. BRAW is an interesting codec because it does much of the demosaic process in camera as opposed to inside the computer, thus giving your CPU a break and making the post-production flow smooth and fast without compromising on the image quality. BRAW is Blackmagic Design's baby, and whilst it is a very light and user-friendly codec, it does not compromise on quality. It is also a compressed codec like ProResRAW. Blackmagic RAW has also been made free like CDNG. BMD released an SDK, a software development kit for it. This codec offers an extensive array of metadata and parameters you can change in the camera raw menu of DaVinci, although I should say that BRAW from Sigma FP is more limited than BRAW from a Blackmagic camera. BRAW has two methods of encoding: constant bitrate and constant quality. As I was saying, for this project, I used constant bitrate 3:1, but I have to say I looked at all the other compression ratios and I hardly saw any difference between 3:1 and 12:1, even though the data rate was much smaller. This is Adobe's baby, who wanted to create an industry-wide open file format for digital cinema files. It was the first of its kind, a raw video image format for video cameras. When imported in the computer, the CDNG files are visualized as individual DNG pictures for each frame of your video. They also contain metadata and audio files, but at the present moment, they are only playable as videos if you import them in an editing software. CDNG is the only true RAW from our 3 flavors of RAW, in the sense that it is uncompressed, hence the huge data rate. However, it doesn't necessarily mean it will automatically yield the best image, because it will still go through a processing phase once you import it in your editing software. So the way the software does the processing is essential. Another notable thing is how you conduct your color grading workflow. For example, both CDNG and BRAW can be edited in DaVinci, but if we go to the Camera Raw menu, the options from BRAW are different than the ones from CDNG. I find the CDNG menu much more appealing. I tend to change the highlights, shadows, and contrast settings from here rather than the color wheels. I also find that if you apply the easy BMD color space workflow, as I do for this video, the image looks significantly less flat than the BRAW image that went through the same process. That being said, I think that if I dig deeper and try an ACES workflow, for example, it might allow me to squeeze more out of my CDNG. In conclusion, do not decide to use CDNG because it's automatically better than the other RAWs. Whilst it is open source and provides excellent quality uncompressed media, it is very large and a bit of a pain to work with. I recommend that you read David Osterberry's article on RAW files. He does a great job of explaining how everything works.